to the Starry-Eyed podcast. My name is Brendan.
And I'm Jen. On this show, we chat about all things Williams syndrome,
The ups and downs and what it's like living with
and being a parent to someone with
Williams syndrome.
We're excited to share our community with you. Thanks for being here. Well, I've been forever, Brendan. So tell everybody how your summer was. How was the rest of your summer?
Summer was pretty good. I mean, I had COVID after the convention, blah, 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 blah. But other than that, it's been pretty good. I mean, yeah, we had a death in the family and unexpectedly, so that was not the greatest. But been really just focused on the shed and we went to Maine, up to Maine for the New England region connections event, and I'm going to be in Buffalo next week, and next Saturday they're having a tri-state area picnic kind of thing. So I figured, I'm in the area, why not? So I'll be going to that with my biological father.
You have to scout some locales for us for
yes. I will.
Convention.
Yeah. We'll do. I got you guys.
Busy. You've been so busy.
Yep.
But you're feeling better, which is the good news.
Yes, I'm back 100%. So
good.
The cough took a while to exit, and then it did. So I'm good.
Jen, you weren't able to join us when we interviewed Joelle.
No, it was sad.
Brendan and I were talking about how it felt weird. It felt like we didn't. It was like, oh, how do we do this again?
Yeah,
we hadn't done any sort of traditional podcast since before the convention.
I explained it as putting training wheels on a bike that you've already taken the training wheels off of.
Yeah.
And I got a kick out of everybody. So
did you feel
back on?
Yeah. Did you feel that way with the Robin interview when we had Robin Pegg back on?
Me personally, yes. I was like, wait a minute. Whoa, my brain, I have to do things. But I feel that way, like coming back from summer in general, because then we like go back to all of our regularly scheduled program at home, which is like sports and tutoring and all kinds of things. And so I'm like, wait a minute, what am I doing? I don't know. Robin was great. She, once she starts talking, then it's like I just get so excited and I'm right back in the zone. But yeah. Do you feel like it's hard to get back into things, or no, because you've still been doing things all along?
For me, yeah. I mean, I was looking forward to it. As much as I love hanging out with Ben all day, it does make it hard to get work done.
Yes.
So I was very happy. But who was the most excited for the back to school routine and everything was Herb.
Yeah.
He was psyched. That first morning I got up and it was like, I'm getting up at like 6:15 or whatever. And he just was like, what? You're up. Wait, you're up. Okay. Wait, are you letting me out, or is this like you just got to go to the bathroom sort of thing? And I'm like, all right, buddy. He was like, yes. And he like zipped to the back door, goes out, does his business, comes running in, like goes by his food dish, and he's looking at me, and I'm like, yeah, I'll get you your food. He does everything. Bolts downstairs to see Bennett, and and then he was so excited, and he's just really jazzed to have this routine back. And I'm like, wow, okay.
Right.
Didn't realize that summer was such an inconvenience for you and you're laying around.
Yeah. My dogs are very excited to be back to their scheduled sleeping. You can probably hear them snoring like in the room next to me, but they like their peace. They like to just chill during the day and have their siestas.
Yep.
And that gets complicated when people are running around the house.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess Herb does find it difficult to nap when there's constant Toto music playing. So
Yeah.
No, I know. Hey, so you guys talked with Joelle about school, right? I like go sad that I missed her because you guys talked about her college experience
yeah,
and what she's doing now. Is she done with college?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
So many, well, I don't know. I shouldn't say so many people. Me, I think a lot about Stella going to college, and I'm starting to kind of dip my toes into the different programs that are available for individuals with disabilities and what they look like. And so I really, like I said, really bummed that I missed that conversation with Joelle because I would have loved to have heard her college experience. So I'll be listening when this comes out so that I can get caught up.
That's a perfect opportunity for me to plug. We have a new Family Support Network support group that
Yes.
that Michelle Self, friend of the show, is leading. It's all about the Think College program,
Yeah.
and so if anybody is thinking about college, for their student, or if their student has expressed the desire to go to college, um, unfortunately, this comes out on Tuesday, and the group will have met last night. But it'll meet again in October.
I am definitely excited about that. Obviously with Robin and our discussion with Robin, it was really geared towards like kids who are still in school. We touched very lightly. There's so much with Robin that you can talk about. And so to squeeze her into such a short time, like we really had to hit like very quickly a lot of different age groups. But I think she gave some great strategies for those who are interested in understanding like their person with Williams syndrome, how they learn, and what we can do as parents or caregivers to support them in the education process. I think she gave a few really good tips to help start off the school year right. And I know even for me, I'm well versed in them, and I still had like three nuggets I took away from that I was like, yeah, I need to circle that horse again.
Yeah, I mean, it. I will say, listening to some of the things that that are talked about, as a parent, I sit there and sometimes go, "Yes, I'm doing that."
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Or
the feeling of, and then you're like, "No,
yeah.
okay, yeah, I need to. I'm not doing that." And so, yeah, so there's that element too of excited about, like, oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that. But then also sometimes hearing that I'm doing it, I don't suck at this, yay! And so,
Today, at least
yeah,
today,
okay. I guess we should just get to it then.
Shall we?
we shall.
Woo!
All right. Well, hey, Joelle, how are you?
Good, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. So that for those who don't know who you are, why don't you take this few seconds to introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are and what you're about.
Hi, everyone. If you don't know me, I'm Joelle. I am 23 years old from Washington, D.C., Maryland area. I graduated in May of 2024, and I graduated on May 4th. I'm a really cool person. I love to be around people. I love to make people laugh like crazy. Um, in general, I'm just a really positive person.
Yeah.
Yep. William.
Yeah. Where did you graduate from?
The University of South Carolina,
Awesome.
Columbia, South Carolina. Yeah.
How was there a particular reason that you chose that school?
Yes. First of all, South Carolina was like my dream school. So like it was like everything. But my freshman year was not the greatest, unfortunately, but I got through it because I met this girl named Hannah Boyce. She is such an angel. Oh my gosh, I love her so much. Um, she and I been through a lot together. We did Chi Alpha. It's like a Christian group on campus. Oh, and I miss it so badly. But yeah, so I've had a lot of friends in college, and I feel like it's a great community to be a part of, especially if you have a disability. But sometimes I worry people will take advantage of me and um just not understand me or misunderstand me and the way that I perceive things and that the way that they uh perceive things. So I honestly feel like, college is big, like it's different from everybody's perspective on college and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. Um, was that so you were living there on your own?
hmm Yeah. Yeah. I had roommates and stuff, but I never really got along with them, except for one. But she moved to Florida, so she doesn't live in Baltimore anymore. But yeah, um, I've had a lot of roommate issues, especially with people that don't understand Williams syndrome.
Sure.
So, so
Um, did you live in the dorms or
yeah, I lived in the dorms until like my senior year of college, and then I moved into apartments. Like the hub downtown in Columbia. I lived there like during the summer in college, and then I moved back in August of last, yeah, in 2023.
Mm,
But yeah, so been there a long time, but I do often like tend to get lonely and stuff. But even though I was at college, I made a lot of friends. Like everyone got busy, but it's not to say that I didn't have any friends in college. It's just everyone got busy. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously college for me was many, many, many moons ago. Uh,
hmm
but oh, you don't need to agree with that so quickly. I was trying to be self-deprecating about my age. No, but the I mean, it's so much, it's such a faster pace, and there's just always so much stuff going on at college
hmm
all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that a difficult adjustment to sort of just that the pace of everything, or
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. That was very difficult. Especially being on time. That was a really big struggle for me.
Mm.
Um, Also with like boundaries and stuff, that was also a really big struggle with for me. But as I've grown and as I learned, like we all make mistakes in life, you know?
Yeah.
So
well, yeah,
so yeah.
but you were able to like you said that you joined I
Chi Alpha Chi
yeah,
Alpha.
Chi Alpha. Is that sort of when you started to feel like you found your people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I would say religion is a huge thing for me, but I don't really go to church that often, but I try to. But, um I I find like people are different in their spirituality and just trying to find God in many other ways. So yeah.
Yeah, that seems I mean that's part of what your 20s are all about. It's
Right.
at
Yeah.
least to me it feels like that's one of the big things that every young person in their, like once you're on your own, then you start figuring out who you want, who you are and who you want to be and
Be
what path you're gonna go down. So, um, yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about like, um, I guess we'll start with the good. What was good? What did you like about college? What did you like about the whole experience?
Um, hmm,
The independence part of it.
yeah, being independent. Um, again, like trying to get everywhere like on time, like rushing and
Mm-hmm.
just like running like really fast and just like going, going, going. But now that I don't have that, I feel like there's many other ways that I could be productive during the day.
Sure.
Yeah.
When you were in your classes,
hmm
were you on your own? Did you have any sort of
So I sorry.
oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I was in Carolina Life. It's a program for people with disabilities. Um, but I I I did like their classes and then gen ed classes. Well, I don't know if you call
Yeah.
it gen ed classes. Um, but I really didn't like those classes were the gen ed classes were kind of a struggle for me because I didn't really understand like the curriculum very well. So I've had like all these like coaches like help me and stuff, and they were really good about like helping me like do stuff, and I appreciate Caroline Life for that because I think I would have struggled even more if I didn't have that like aspect of college. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, I mean, I like to think that probably what you brought to the, the classroom that um that featured mostly, neurotypical and physically typical people,
hmm
you added. I like to think that anyone with a disability who comes into those spaces adds to the education and the
Yeah.
uh
hmm
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
whole environment.
Well, first of all, I was the only girl in my freshman class in Carolina Life, so
Wow.
that was really difficult for me to process a lot of things like, okay, I'm the only girl in my freshman class, like how do I go about this? Like I was so nervous around like these boys behind
That's a lot of,
me.
I mean, that's a lot of dude energy.
A
Yeah.
lot of good energy.
Yeah. But I really like I sometimes it was hard for me to be around them because, you know, but
They're guys, yeah.
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 But there's this one guy, his name is Andro. He's literally the sweetest person ever. He's like, I just love him.
Well, and are you able to keep in touch
Keep in
with?
touch with him.
Cool, cool.
Mhm.
Is he still at school or is he
No, he's still in Colombia, but he's working
sure.
at yeah. So
Cool.
yeah.
Um you talked about like how difficult it was sometimes to get to every place on time.
hmm
Um how like was there anything else that was like what can you give us an example of something that was kind of tricky at first and like kind of hard to figure out and navigate, but you just by just keeping at it and doing it, like whether that was going to get food or coming home.
Yeah.
I mean, what how was that learning process?
Um, I feel like as time went on, I feel like I've gotten a bit better about being on time because today I was like, uh-oh, I missed an interview, but I didn't. I was like, thank God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you went the other way with it. You were so
Yeah.
early that you
Yep.
thought you missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I looked at my phone, it was 12. I was like, oh shoot.
Yeah, I've gotten better with time management these days too.
Yeah.
It's taken me a while, but
Is that
Mhm.
I guess I mean, and maybe we've talked about this, Brendan. Is that something that you've had issues with too? Is like time management and stuff?
um sometimes, but not all the time, um here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
my son has like a time management class that's helping him
Yeah.
Oh,
he-
that's great.
yeah,
That's
get
great,
better
Joel.
at
That's really great.
Yeah.
get
Dang,
better.
I wish I had that in college.
Yeah. Yeah, just it's focus. It's all focus.
Hmm. Right.
Yeah.
It's so,
Exactly.
there's so many things going on that
Hmm.
can be so easy, whether you have even if you don't have a developmental disability, it's hard to stay focused.
It,
And
yeah.
Right. I think for me it was more of like a high school thing because of like the bullying
Sure.
and my
Hmm.
health and just not wanting to go.
Sure. There's
You know,
yeah.
because of
Yeah.
how bad it was. But yeah, I mean, I myself never had like a traditional 4-year college experience. I went to a post-secondary school for kids with special needs, Berkshire Hills Music Academy. Uh,
Yeah.
Yep,
Hmm.
out of Berkshire Hills. Yeah.
so, yeah, um, it was different, but it was cool. Had its ups and downs.
So what was Joelle?
Hmm.
And I can't believe that, we're like 15 minutes into this interview and we haven't even brought up that Brendan is sandwiched by Joel and Joelle.
Yeah, love it
But
all day, every day.
Did
uh,
you? Brendan said that you didn't know we talked all the time. We do.
no, I didn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was great. I would when we talked about having someone who has been to college and has gone through the college experience. Um, I You were the first person who came to my mind, obviously, because we had just been at camp together.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh, yeah. Camp was
Campus
yeah,
camp.
camp was
camp,
camp.
camp was camp. But we, and I know that you spoke at the convention as
Mhm.
college,
Yeah.
the college.
So I was actually supposed to give a presentation about college, but the person that I was supposed to present with, she couldn't make it. So I did the thing on Saturday with Laurel.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, Joelle and I actually work with one of the same people, Mariella. We
Oh,
work
Mario, yeah. Yeah.
outside of the Williamston Association,
Station.
through the Westminster Institute of Human Development, which I've mentioned before. She is like a speech coach and helps, set up, speaker bureaus, kind of events, and
Cool.
me being
Mhm.
able to speak at like the New York Medical College and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So we work together on stuff outside of that.
So, last spring,
Hmm.
you're coming down the stretch to graduate college.
Hmm. Yeah.
What was that feeling like? Was it all excitement? Was it, oh my God, what do I do now? What sort of like what were your what
What was I feeling?
how was the end of your senior year?
Um,
Were you
it
able
was
to enjoy it?
Yeah, actually, my Chi Alpha friends, oh my gosh, they surprised me with like a graduation party because me and my friends, one of my friends was taking grad pictures of me. Like this was like May 2nd, and then like I got my nails done. I literally was like, no freaking way. Like what?
That's awesome.
That's great.
I was like, this is not happening. And Taylor was like, yeah, it is. Guys, y'all are too sweet.
Did you go through the cap and gown ceremony?
Yeah, I bought my mom or dad bought it. I don't know. Yeah, I wore my cap and gown at graduation, and graduation was like 2 hours max. It's not that bad. I was about to sob my eyes out. I was like, guys, we're graduating. Then I looked at Andre. I was like, I'm gonna miss you the most, bro.
Yeah.
No, me and him have like this like, oh, I just love him. Anyway, sorry.
Well, I hope he watches this and
Right,
knows
right.
how loved he is.
Shout out to Alejandro.
Yeah, Andre.
So then after graduation, then it was like, did you just chill and relax until like convention time?
Yeah, so basically, I didn't really do much in the span of convention time. My sister Faith went to London for like 3 weeks at the School of Economics there in London. And then I, yeah, and then I saw like everybody at convention, so that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to Arizona with my mom again.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Just for fun.
I wish.
Okay.
It's another conference. It's for the Juice Plus conference. So yeah, I'm gonna be there because she does Juice Plus like at the convention. Like yeah, she sets up a table.
Oh yeah, she had
help her set up at the convention in Phoenix.
Oh yeah.
She had a nice, she had a good prime place too. She was like
Yeah.
a lot of foot traffic.
Yeah.
Guys, my friends, like I literally miss all my friends, but I miss my friends from Puerto Rico like so much. Like I just love them.
Yeah. They're good people.
Yeah.
So what do you have a what's next? Do you are you still sort of figuring things out?
So tomorrow I have a meeting with someone at like 3 until 4 about like, finding a job. Like they help out with like finding a job, I guess, or just meeting up and just trying to figure out. I think I want to do event planning for a bit, like parties and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like that's my vibe. Like I'm such a party girl. Like
Yeah, you are.
I could party any time of the day and it wouldn't matter. So,
Well,
guys,
so like you're gonna meet and it's sort of like, is it the kind of the situation where they get to know you and figure out where like and how to have like a sort of a customized job?
I think so. It's called Doors. I don't know if y'all have heard of that.
Door. I've heard of a door, and I've heard of the Doors. But
Doors.
Probably a different.
Doors, yeah. So I'm meeting with the
If
Doors.
you're going to meet up with Jim Morrison and the Doors, then that would be a pretty wild meeting,
right?
Yeah. I'm sure Brendan has already probably talked your ear off about this, but your desire and willingness and wanting to help others would make you a pretty good candidate to be on the board of trustees.
Yeah.
No way.
Just something
yes way.
You'd be I think you would be really good, and it would be exciting to so when the call goes out, I think probably pretty soon here the USA will put a call out for applications to join the board of trustees.
You should apply, Joelle. I really think you should.
I think I want to now. Wait. What? Wait. Yes, I want to. Yes.
Well, there you go.
Done and done. Yeah, and yeah, because it's having someone who obviously wants to help the community and loves being part of the community, but also has it just in my getting to know you, the little bit that I know you think about things, about how things can be better.
Yeah.
For people with Williams syndrome, and that's the kind you need people who can sort of have those
Right.
big
Exactly.
thoughts about, okay, what would be better for us? How can we all do better to help everybody be better?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
I hope you consider it. And
Yeah.
I
And
I say yes, 100%.
do it.
we'll make sure you get the application when the call
Yeah.
goes out.
Okay. Cool.
Well, Joelle, we have loved having you on. We are so happy that you were able to come on to the show. And yeah, what are your parting thoughts? Like, what is there anything else you want to make sure that the people who listen and watch this, that they know? What do they need to know?
One, if you meet me, I'm like the sweetest person ever. Like I genuinely like, I don't know. I tend to like be nice to people, but like it's just a thing. Like people gotta take time to know me. You
Yeah.
know?
Where can people find you?
Instagram, Snapchat, text me, whatever you want.
Joel Packard. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Packard.
On Facebook as well. On
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat and FaceTime, wherever.
She's everywhere.
I'm everywhere.
Oh, thank
Everywhere
you.
and anywhere.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Oh yeah, and I guess if you're in the DC area, just swing by. She probably's around.
Yeah.
Yeah, just come by. Just say hey. Like,
But we've talked about me coming down and visiting, so I'll take her
yes.
up on that at some point for sure.
Yes. Maybe during the holiday season or something.
Yeah, we could do that.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, Joelle, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, you guys. I'm just like
Love you,
so
Bubba.
honored.
Love you, Bubba.
I love you, Bubba.
Well, thankfully, we don't have to do a lot of talking today because we have brought on, for number 2 appearance, I think you're our first repeat guest, Miss Robin Pegg, because you're so amazing.
Yep.
And it's back to school, and we have lots to share.
Yeah.
And I went to convention this year in Arizona, and I listened to all of your talks again. And once again, I was amazed. One of my most favorite things, I don't know if this is going to sound bad, is like watching first-time convention parents go to your meetings and then leave, like their head explode, and then leave and be like, holy whatever.
Guacamole.
Yes, holy guacamole, to be nice. Like, and just wowed by the information you present. So I was so excited that this year you teamed up with Dr. Mervis. That's different than you have done in the past, right?
We started working together in 2018 a little bit, and then we have permanently decided we will always present together. So
It was
That's
great.
awesome.
Maybe you could share with everybody. See, I've already started. Wheels are off. But maybe you could start by saying, like, sharing with everybody. Well, first of all, I guess you could reintroduce yourself, but most people should know who you are. And then maybe you could talk about, like what you specialize in versus what Dr. Mervis specialized in and how you married those together.
yeah, absolutely. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Robin Pegg, and I am the education consultant for the Williams Syndrome Association. I suppose I should say one of them now, because there's a team now of consultants that work with the Williams Syndrome Association to support families, which is really, really exciting. That's something that I think they're looking to build out even more, which is fabulous, because that lets the families have access to people that have specialized in Williams syndrome and can support them and give them advice if they need it, which that is a free service that's offered to families. So families can contact the WSA. They'll put you in touch with one of us, who's ever appropriate. So my role as an education consultant is really to sort of curate to some extent the resources and that are available to families in and around education, and also to coordinate with researchers, people who are out there studying aspects of Williams syndrome that relate to education. So whether that's cognition, language, behavior, math, reading, any of those things, anybody that might be conducting research in those areas that has something to do with how kids with Williams syndrome learn, how they access the curriculum, how they respond to the curriculum, how they learn how to be a student, the executive functioning that it requires to be organized and plan and keep track of your schedule and your stuff, that to be a student, any of those things. So the other thing I do is sort of coordinate that. And probably my most primary role with regard to that research is to serve as a translator. So what that means is I take the research that all of these wonderful, intelligent people are doing, and I say, okay, based on this research and the findings here, what does that mean? What does that mean in a second grade classroom, a fourth grade classroom, a sixth grade classroom, eighth grade, ninth grade, 12th grade? What does it mean? And so then what we can do is take that information and give it to the teachers, because the end goal in all of this is that kids with Williams syndrome get the absolute best education that they can. They learn the most stuff that they can learn so that they're armed with knowledge when they are out there in the world. I'm sure, Brendan, you can speak to, living in the world as a young adult. You need to know stuff, and you need to know how stuff works, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Knowledge is power in any way, shape, or form, and it's important to know things, so to speak.
Yeah. So we want kids to do science. We want kids to know their history. We want kids to have opinions, and we want them to read all the books, that be exposed to literature and poetry and all the stuff. They, a bunch of really smart people got in a room and decided that this was a pile of stuff, and they made standards and said, kids should know this stuff before they enter the world. Well, kids with Williams syndrome need to know that stuff too. So we just need to figure out how to help this kid learn that stuff. And so that's basically the job that I do at the Williams Syndrome Association is that job. And I partner with people like Carolyn Mervis and Bonnie Klein Tasman and Marissa Fisher and all of those guys, Karen Levine, that are out there doing the work, David Copenhaver, of the research on how these kids learn. And they do that research, and then I take that research into classrooms and give it to teachers so that teachers are armed. And as my grandfather used to say, you just need to sharpen your pencil and work smarter, not harder. And so if that's what I can do, is help people work a little smarter, then that's what I have been trying to do for a long time now.
Yeah, it's I don't know if this is a gross overstatement. I'm just going to say it, and then you correct me if I'm wrong, Robin. But I feel like more often than not, what I hear from the community is when they meet, right, a family with Williams syndrome meets their educational team for the first time, or maybe many times, right, that it seems like very quickly our people with Williams syndrome get told all the things that they can't do, right? And like, oh, they can't do this, they can't read, so they can't be in gen ed English. They can't write, so they can't possibly do math or whatever it looks like. And I would say, like, personally, one of the things that you have been very instrumental in is helping me understand how somebody with Williams syndrome learns, and how some of those things, the elements that happen in a gen ed classroom, like, they are barriers, but they're not like they're not things that we can't work around. And so so Stella's in 8th grade, just started 8th grade, y'all. It's crazy. And she's in a gen ed classroom. And I always start off the school year talking to new teachers. And I'm like, this is not going to look like what you've ever done. It's not going to feel like anything is happening, right? But like, give it time, let it marinate, like just, give us some patience, right? And you're going to see that Stella is capable of things that you didn't think she was. And she is. I mean, it's like year over year, we get a lot of good compliments from her school team saying like, gosh, I didn't think she could be in a gen ed math class, but here we are. It comes with a lot of support. And like I said, it looks different than anybody would traditionally imagine. But I was just going to say, like, that's one of the things that you have given me is like hope that Stella can learn. Do you hear that a lot from folks?
Yeah, I just had a family that Carolyn and I met at the convention. I attended a meeting with them just this morning, first thing this morning. And the dad said that in the meeting. He said, we went to this convention. It was the first time we've ever gone. And they have twins. And the dad said, we left the convention with hope. We thought, our girls had this thing and they were going to have all these limitations. And we left thinking, no, they can learn stuff. If we can do this, and they said that was huge for them. And I think, regardless of whether you work with me or any of the other consultants that are out there, I think that's the resounding message that we're all trying to share is that these kids can. Sometimes you have to be creative with the key that you're using to unlock that particular kiddo's talents and abilities. It takes a little bit of specialized knowledge to figure that out, but there is a key. We just have to find it.
Well, talk to us about back to school. I mean, now Stella's been in school for a couple of weeks now, but a lot of folks just went back to school this week. What are the things that you want our community to know about this leaning back into school and schoolwork?
Yeah, I think a couple of things that I wanted to be able to share. I think the number one thing that I think is really important for kids with Williams syndrome in schools is how those kids are prompted. So I have up on my screen right here, this is the prompt hierarchy. You can find it on the Williams syndrome website. One thing that's really important to understand about people with Williams syndrome, and one of the things that we see happens a lot with kids that have exceptional learning needs is they're often prompted. And we tend to use a lot of what's referred to as direct verbal prompts, where we say, pick up your pencil, do this here, do that there, blah, blah, blah. And that's how we tend to prompt the kids. And with somebody with Williams syndrome, here's what happens when we do that. So let me give you an example. So let's pretend we're in 2nd or 3rd grade, something like that. The teacher's giving the kids a little worksheet to complete. Maybe they have to write some words out, maybe it's a word family or something like that. And then there's some pictures at the bottom that they have to like cut out and then paste the picture that goes with the words or something like that. It's pretty typical worksheet in 2nd, 3rd grade-ish, something like that. So the teacher stands up in the front of the room and she gives these instructions. And the kiddo with Williams syndrome is sitting there and he's listening to the teacher and he can see around the room what the other kids are going to do to complete this task. And then the paraprofessional, the helper that's working with the kiddo, what they do is they start talking to the kiddo with All right, so grab your pencil and now you need to write your name here and okay, wait, let me get the scissors. And so what has just happened is everything that that kiddo had stored in their head as they were listening to the teacher went flying out of their head because they now started have to listen to this new conversation that the paraprofessional just started with them.
Right.
So they
Yeah.
were focused on the instructions from the teacher, but the para started this new conversation. So all of the attention is now on that, and everything they had in their head is gone. And so one of the things that's really important is if families can share with the people that are working with their kiddos, especially if their kiddos have a one-to-one, is share this resource on prompting. Because if the individual that's working with your child can use any of these types of cues that are in the green, or use indirect cues. So what do you think we should be doing first? What that does by changing it from a statement to a question is you're allowing the child to maintain that thought thread that they have. So they have to continue to hang on to the thought thread that they have. And kids with Williams syndrome typically have some working memory deficits anyway. So this is where, if you combine asking questions with maybe a visual of the steps of something that's been written down, you now have the ability when it says, a gestural prompt or an object prompt, you can point to the next thing in the list that they have to do. And again, what you leave intact is the thought process that the kid had going on. And so in this whole thing, you're also developing learner autonomy because we're teaching kids not to rely on sort of a human GPS that's going to tell you the next thing to do and then the next thing to do and the next thing to do. Instead of relying on the human GPS, we're going to teach kids to pay attention to what the teacher had to say, make a list, follow your list, and those are life skills.
Yeah. Very important life skills.
Yeah, we probably have not done a good job with this one. And so we are now in the process of trying to redirect on that. Because I do see as Stella's gotten older that some of those executive functioning challenges are more apparent. And I also think just like the pace that's combined with the pace of the classroom and the school and the rigor of the curriculum. And so a lot of times it's like it happens because we're just trying to like help her keep up.
Yeah.
But we definitely, these are good reminders for us. So anybody that's going back to school, you think prompting and just reminding them about how the para supporting them are prompting is important.
A couple other resources I want to share. This is the new Williams syndrome educational profile that the updated version that we just issued out this year. Kids with Williams syndrome, it kind of goes over the profile. The audience for this is teachers. So this was designed to be handed out and given to teachers. And what it has is some really quick and simple statements about what the kids can do and where they might struggle, and what you could do to support them. So just so that teachers have a good picture really quickly of who this kiddo is that's in their classroom. Kids with Williams syndrome are rare. They're absolutely rare. So a teacher may never have had a child with Williams syndrome in their classroom before, and they might never have a kid with Williams syndrome in their classroom again. And a lot of times what will happen as educators is, we use the tools that we have in our toolbox, the ones that we've been using for everybody. And sometimes those work with kids with Williams syndrome, and sometimes they don't. And so what this was designed to do is to, as my grandfather would say, is to sharpen our pencil. And if we can give teachers some quick tips about what works and what doesn't work, that's what we want to do. So we cover reading, writing, speech and language, fine motor skills, math,
Mm.
social relationships, executive functioning. And then there's some important tips down here at the bottom, as well as science and social studies. And then we have these really wonderful additions that came from a parent that attended the convention. And she shared these, and I just love these. So I just want to send a shout out to Lindsay for sharing these with us. But this is what she said, and I just want to read these. It says, from a parent, a good teacher match for somebody with Williams syndrome will set high expectations and see each student as capable of learning great things with the right supports. Recognize that students with Williams syndrome are ready to participate, ready to learn. They sometimes just don't know where to begin.
Mm.
Understand that the language child with Williams syndrome uses may not accurately represent all going on in their minds. Be ready to shift in tools, resources, or supports. There's always a way to make the learning accessible. Get ready for joy. Students with Williams syndrome with the right supports will find immense joy in learning and in their peers and will contribute greatly to the classroom culture. And just remember to be firm but kind. And I just love that. I think those are great reminders. And, and so this is a resource that parents can get off the website as well and share with their teams. It's all of these are free to families. So, please go out and, download these and use these with your teams. So any thoughts from you guys about this profile?
Yeah, of course, I love the education profile, and I've used it a lot in the past. I did want to hone in on, I think it's under science and social studies, the emotional connection to materials helps with remembering facts and concepts. This is one, like just this week as an example, we're working on. Stella is in 8th grade and they're reviewing states and capitals. And she's done that in the past, right? But the pace with which we're learning, often it's like we're on something for a hot second and then we're moving away from it, right? And our kids need a lot of repetition, a lot more repetition than the traditional school setting provides. And in all candidness, we have not been focusing on it, right? So it's like we've focused on it in 6th and 7th grade, and then here we are in 8th grade, and it's like, oh shoot, now we need to revisit this again. And one of the strategies that I just used is we're going over states and capitals, and I started like, here's all the states you've been to. And then we talk about what she's done in every state, right? So in Arizona, you just went to Arizona, you went to convention. Where did you go? We went in Phoenix, right? And it's interesting to see her retention. That's a strategy that I just tried. So we've looked at that before in the past. Mm-hmm. Okay results. But like the minute that I added a personal element to it, now all of a sudden she's retaining information faster. And so I do think, I don't know how you translate that to like math. I mean, I know you can translate it to reading if it's a topic that they're interested about, but I just can't stress enough like how important that is to our kids. Like they need things that are tailored to them. They like talking about themselves. They like hearing about what they've done. They like reading about themselves. They like seeing themselves on videos. Like that's just an overarching, if there was any takeaway, this emotional connection to materials, I think is like just an easy one.
Mm-hmm. I have a lot of kids that their teachers and their families, like when it comes to story problems and math,
yes,
they insert the kid's name, the mom's name, the sisters and brothers' names, the cousins' names, or friends' names, whatever it is. And it makes a huge difference just doing that. But here's why it works. Here's the really cool thing. Here's why it works. So when the little micro deletion happens that creates Williams syndrome, there's some fundamental changes in this part of the brain called the interparietal sulcus. Okay. And so this reduced gray matter, it leads to what's called a functional disconnection from regions in other regions of the brain. So it's related to difficulty with visual spatial construction, difficulty with relational language, difficulty with mathematics because of the visual spatial construction and the relational language. So there's this fundamental difference. So this is what this looks like. Okay. And so in a typically developing person, this TD part, if you look at what is connected, okay, and how those things are connected, in a typically developing person, that chunk of neurons, and if you liken it to that chunk of cords that's behind your computer or behind your TV, all that big fat bunch of cords, if you liken it to that, in a typically developing person, most of those cords are plugged into your visual spatial system, okay? And a few are plugged into your social system. In a person with Williams syndrome, it's like somebody effectively unplugged those cords, redistributed them, and then plugged most of them into the social system, which is why our kids are literally hardwired for connection. You know, they love connecting with people, with dogs, with, you know, but especially people. And, you know, and they leave a few stragglers plugged into that visual perceptual system, but not as many as maybe might be needed sometimes, you know, to accomplish some tasks. So when we run back over here and we're start talking about this emotional connection, the reason that works is because of that wiring. You know, these kids are hardwired for connection. So if we can help them connect emotionally to content, we increase the chances of retention of that content. That's why it works.
I just want to touch on one little thing for me, like school was tough. So for me, the one thing that helped me feel safe was finding a program such as like Best Buddies, you know, or, you know, which gave me the social aspect and which gave me the, you know, a feeling of acceptance and the feeling of like, okay, I belong with this group of people. Like outside of that, I didn't really have a lot of that. So, you know, I think it's really important, you know, for kids, you know, who are starting school, you know, to see if there's a program like that available in their school system, because it saved my life. So it might save someone else's, you know?
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic.
And do you think that helped you, Brendan, like with the, you know, because learning, I'm sure, like in being in a classroom, traditional classroom, was that like hard for you just because the work was hard? Okay. So like that helped give you some balance. Have you ever met somebody who's like, this person with Williams syndrome, like cannot be taught, and like by employing these strategies, was that person able to learn? Or do you generally see that just like the school systems are willing to like view this information? Mine is because I've
never met that couldn't be taught, you know.
I just mean like that's what they say, right? The school system's like, I can't, you know, we can't teach this person, so we're going to put them in a life skills class. But then like, you know, by employing these strategies, do they see wildly different results? I mean, I have the experience of just working with Stella, and I see it. I'm just wondering, like, you know, what you see over all of the folks that you've, you know, worked with.
Yeah, I've never met a kiddo that couldn't learn, you know, and, you know, like David Copenhaver, who did a lot of work before he retired on reading with kids with Williams syndrome. You know, David would tell me all the time, he's like, I've never met a kid with Williams syndrome that couldn't learn to read. These kids, I don't know, I will often say they just have to, we just have to find the way to unlock, you know, and sometimes, you know, what happens in schools, and it's not malicious or anything like that. It just happens that they hear the word syndrome And because of the word syndrome, they often equate that with inability to progress or something like that. And if we can get past that and they can take a look at the student and the student's potential, kids with Williams syndrome are so capable.
Very
So capable. I mean, even the kids that, maybe have more struggles, or maybe the kids that are twice exceptional, maybe they have autism and Williams syndrome or something like that. I've seen some kids with some really complicated situations, and they're absolutely learning. And a lot of it is just really taking a look at how is this child accessing the curriculum, or then like even in the example that Brendan gave, like how are they responding? Like a simple thing for Brendan would have been to give him timeline adjustment, so that he could turn things in within 2 days of a due date, so that, for full credit. And then what would have happened is we would have decreased his stress. He would have had less anxiety. He wouldn't have gotten half credit. His grades would have been better. That would have contributed to his self-esteem. There's just all these patterns, where one thing feeds into the next thing, which feeds into the next thing. And if we just stand back and take a look, I mean, what does giving somebody 2 days of an accommodation cost anyone? Like nothing. But what does it cost if you don't?
Ooh, ooh, that's fire. Yeah.
Great
And I'm glad
fire.
thank you for answering that question, because I do think that, like I said, I heard it right at convention. There's so many people who think like they're just conditioned to think like my person with Williams syndrome can't learn. And we know that that's not true. And we know that all things are possible. So I think it's a good reminder to the community that if your child isn't learning at school, it's time to bring in Robin. It's time to bring in one of these consultants that work for the WSA to figure out what tools your child needs to be successful, because they absolutely can. What else are you working on right now, Robin, as it relates to Williams syndrome and education?
So the last thing that I really wanted to share with the friends today, our friends and families, is this is a little bit of an older resource. I just updated it the other day, a little bit. This is all on literacy instruction for people with Williams syndrome, and it goes into word identification, reading motivation, reading fluency, language comprehension, and it's got in here different strategies and things to do to help them, where to start. These are two wonderful books that you can start with, and this is based on the work of Copenhagen and Erickson. It comes out of that particular book. Key concepts to remember with regard to kids with Williams syndrome. And then if you need help, the WSA will provide training to your school. We have loads of resources on the website that people can access. And then these are the consultation services that we provide as well. But I just want to encourage people to access these resources and utilize them, as you're supporting your child and their education. And I think you said something just a little bit ago, Jen, that I think is really important. You said, we know it's for a fact that our child can learn, that kids with Williams syndrome can learn. And that's not a light statement. That is a statement that's based on research. So Dr. Carolyn Mervis at her lab in the University of Louisville, and then as her lab moves to the ACE Center in Philadelphia, will continue that work. But that lab and the work that they've done has unequivocally proven time and time again that if a child with Williams syndrome isn't making academic progress, it's directly related to instruction. It's not the child. It's
Yeah.
the
Oh my gosh, I'm getting goosebumps, because at convention we talked about this, right? Specifically as it relates to literacy and the data that Dr. Mervis has collected. showing that our kids can learn to read if given the right structure, like I said, mind blowing. Because the data is very clear that there is a specific way that our kids learn how to read best. I mean, it's so true. And thank you for saying that, because it's like I have no fancy credentials behind my name. I'm only repeating what I hear from you guys, right? The ones that are doing all this work, that the folks with Williams syndrome can learn, and that does give me as a parent those tools I need to be able to advocate locally for my kiddo and for others with disabilities. And it's amazing. So I definitely can't stress enough that, if you're not taking advantage of these resources that Robin and this team provides, now is the time to do so, right? Because there's no wrong time to start, right? Even if your person is in 8th grade and you never use these, the time is now. And you'll be surprised at how much ground your kids can make up when they have the right supports.
Yep. So a couple last things that I really wanted to share today is, as you're looking at back to school, ask questions, find out what the curriculum is that the school is using to teach your child. There's a few that we absolutely love and recommend. If your kids are being taught handwriting, we love Handwriting Without Tears because it's a multi-sensory program, and it does a really good job of, we always like curriculum to do what we call 2 ways in. So we're going to do it auditorily and visually, or we're going to do it, motor wise, kinesthetically, and, auditorily, or, just a mix up. It's better if it's 2 ways in. So it's a multi-sensory program. It does that. If your kids are younger learners and they're learning math, we really love touch math. It really helps cement those numeracy concepts alongside of learning the numbers and the math itself. As they get older and they need more support for completing the math and being able to, do the problems and things like that, there's a couple of other supports that are out there. One is called Equatio. It won't do the math for them, but it serves as a digital pencil, which helps with lining things up and making sure that they can, complete the math and write out the steps, because a lot of times our kids struggle. Handwriting can be hard. Lining up math problems can be hard. It leads to unnecessary mistakes. And so if we can give them, digital tools, let's do that. Another math tool is called Desmos. Mm-hmm. And a lot of schools have Desmos. So this is something that your kid can get access to. So that's important. If they're on iPads, there's an app called Mod Math, which is great, absolutely great. And when it comes to reading and writing, for writing supports, if your kids are using Chromebooks, most of the school districts across the country that are Chromebook school districts also have something called Read and Write for Google Chrome, which provides word prediction access and a myriad of other tools. They may also have something called Co-Writer, which that one also provides word prediction, which that's great. Both of those tools also have built-in PDF editors, which means that your child doesn't have to write on a worksheet. Those worksheets can be scanned and then they can just type in them, which is fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah. So also, give your kids access to audiobooks or digital books and let them listen. Listening comprehension boosts reading comprehension, so it augments it. There's a free service at bookshare.org, www.bookshare.org, which your children automatically qualify for as a child with a person with a disability. It generally just requires a letter from the doctor, but there's hundreds of thousands of titles and where they can get them for free in an audiobook. You can also do that through your library. They rent audiobooks as well and digital books. So all of those kind of things are great tools. From a reading curriculum standpoint, it's really important that kids with Williams syndrome are taught with systematic phonics instruction. It's absolutely imperative that that is not muddied in any way, shape, or form with balanced literacy, whole language, 3 cueing methods, sight word programs. Please, please, please don't do that. We love Linda Mood Bell's programs, Seeing Stars, and those Linda Mood Lips, that program, the any Orton Gillingham based program, most of the science of reading based programs that are out there, Letters, Training, Heggerty, the Orton Gillingham based programs, Wilson but you have to make sure that they're using the Wilson Phonics module. Some districts don't always purchase that module, so you got to ask the questions. Those are the things that we really, really support. Those programs all have really strong phonics programs, and they also have what we call phonemic manipulation components, which is where kids use like letter tiles to build words and then break words down. And that is also really important because, again, it's that 2 ways in. We're not just doing it auditorily. Kids are moving the letters and the parts of words, and they're putting them together and taking them apart. And that really helps cement those concepts. And we also need to make sure with literacy instruction that kids learn not just decoding, which is how you break down a word or sound out a word. They learn encoding, which is how you put the word back together or spell it. And that also leads to composition. And so I know a lot of times with kids with Williams syndrome that when they have poor handwriting, the tendency is to let them use speech to text because they talk so well. Well, the problem with that is that they aren't spelling. And in order for them to be fully literate, we need to close that spelling loop and have them not only decode, but encode and put those letters back together. So that's really important that we do both sides of that coin. And so give them a computer and let them type. And I know sometimes people will say to me, oh, but Robin, they're so slow. They will be until they do it more. The more they do it, the faster they'll get. Their fingering may never be perfect, but neither is a lot of executives out there. They all type with 2 fingers. That's what word prediction's for.
Are there any tips for folks that have high school age people with Williams syndrome in their lives? Like, is there anything different than what you've shared here that you would include for, like, Stella's going into high school next year? I'm getting real stressed about that.
Yeah, I think the big thing to start focusing on probably in 4th grade, 5th grade, and then as you move into middle school and high school is those executive functioning skills. Yeah. Kids need a method to keep track of themselves and their stuff. And I cannot recommend enough to help them learn how to use a calendar or a task list. And I typically suggest that people just use Google Calendar or Google Keep. That is just like a sticky note system that you can make lists on and things like that. I like those because most of the schools are on Chromebooks, so it's easily accessible and you can sync it to your phone.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We're definitely seeing the need to, as I was saying before, work on executive functioning as we head into this next season of our life for sure. Well, for those that, again, hopefully they listened to episode 1 and now they're going to marry this with episode 2 of you, Robin. If people are like, I need to meet you and be your friend, have a conversation with you about how to help their person in their lives with Williams syndrome, how do they find you, and where all of these resources are available on the WSA site?
Yes. If you go
Okay.
on the WSA website and you click on education, you'll find these things under the education tab. There's a thing that says featured education resources, and typically that's where they put all the new stuff, the big stuff, the commonly needed stuff. So I would look there. And then how do they get a hold of myself or any of the other consultants? You can email Joel. Depending on your needs, he could probably point you in the right direction.
If anybody is not using Robin or Michelle's resources, please consider doing so, because they do make a huge difference in the lives of our Williams syndrome learners. Thank you, girlfriend. It was so nice to see you.
You as well.
This has been the Starry-Eyed Podcast, presented by the Williams Syndrome Association. The show is hosted by Jennifer Keaton and Brendan Lemieux, and produced by me, Joel Listman. Theme song by Tommy Barbarella and Mariella Elm. Got a question for the show? Email us at podcast@williams-syndrome.org or message us at the Starry-Eyed Podcast page on Facebook. Video version of the podcast available on the Williams Syndrome Association channel on YouTube or on Facebook. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or comment on the video version, and maybe it will be featured on a future episode. Make sure to like and subscribe to the Starry-Eyed Podcast wherever you get your podcast delights.